There you go.
Oh yeah, good. Finish it.
All right, boss.
Yeah, after it.
Are we live now?
We're live.
We're live. All
That
right.
action, boss.
We are live action right here, everybody. Welcome to the show at Fish North Georgia on this Thursday night. We are glad that you are joining us, or if you watch it, of course, later, that you will eventually be joining us. And we hope to entertain you for a couple hours and give you a few laughs, but give you a lot of information. Got an interesting show tonight. Got a lot of stuff to cover, and but we've been having a good time. Hello to everybody. We've been having a good time for about an hour and a half now. If they'd have recorded what we've been talking about, we might not be able to put it on air, but again, it was funny. Listen to this, guys. I want you guys to hear this. All right, Skip Carey, come on. Give me the Maddox.
What?
Give me the Maddox, the wine and the pitch.
Oh, I said Maddox delivers two-seam fastball outside corner there for a ball.
We've been having a good time with it, guys. So we hope, again, like I said, for the next couple hours, we hope to entertain you a little bit. Let's take care of a little bit of business. A little bit different tonight with State Farm. Again, we always want to thank State Farm for their support, but I want to thank them tonight personally, Chase Epley and the Cassidy Agency, for their support of the Electric Elites. All right, so they added $500 to our classic pot. And again, I can't remember if we're going to put it towards Big Fish, or I know the smarter guys in the group have already decided it. But again, for all your home auto business, and again, I keep telling you guys about that personal article policy. Protect your rides, all your stuff. You need to really think about it. Call Chase Epley at 678-779-7269. And again, let him give you a quote today. And it's free. Just call up and just get a price. I think you'd be really surprised. And again, I also want to thank NoFo Brewery up Highway 400, just north of Cumming. Tonight's selection is Bluebird Day. It is a Pilsner, 5.2. There you go. Yeah, so get it in the camera. We want to definitely, there we go. That's good. Definitely right there. Definitely want to thank the guys over at NoFo, not only for being supporting our show, but also for all the work they're doing in the community. Good times, a lot of adventure up there, a lot of cornhole. That's what I hear. You can go up there and have some very good cornhole tournaments like that, food trucks, stuff like that. Good time. Yeah, it is a rough looking bunch right there. So again, you guys go to NoFo and tell them that the Fish North Georgia guy sent you. Also, I want to go ahead. I got a list of stuff we're getting ready to go down next Wednesday night. War Hill Park, 7 to 11. We're going to be throwing another Fish North Georgia tournament. 10 boats. Got a couple if you're interested. We got a couple already. If you're interested, private message me on Facebook. But that will be next Wednesday. That's what we decided, next Wednesday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going out of War Hill, 7 to 11. Well, we didn't even talk about what we're charging. What's the buy-in on this one? What are we going to do? What did we do last time? Was it $30? And 35.
Last time we did 30, I think.
And then 5 if you want to get big fish, or you want to go to 50.
Let's do 40.
40?
Just for fun.
Oh, we're getting big money now.
No, not really.
So
this
that
is
40
just for fun.
It is. So
Blake's saying 50 a boat. So.
All right, so let's go 50 a boat. All right, Ryan and Blake will be doing the weigh-in, so we'll go 50 a boat. And of that 50, do we want to put any towards big fish, or we just want to just 50 a boat? Let's decide it right now.
Blake,
we didn't talk about that.
We didn't talk
Blake's
about
in the comments. He's not here now. He's spending the
he's got his
the evening with his boy which is where he should be. And again, for everybody who's here, definitely hello to all of you guys. So 50 a boat, and maybe first and a second. So they'll discuss it this time. But again, that's next Wednesday. What's the date? That's going to be what?
Today is June 3rd. So that will be
10th, roughly, or 9th. Anyway, next
June
Wednesday,
9th.
June 9th.
June 9th.
All right, so we're going to do War Hill Park, a little bit different, 7 to 11. We hope you guys will come out and join us. And even if you don't want to fish, come for the weigh-in. We'll have a good time at that. Also want to go ahead. I was asked by Josh Tatum to make this announcement. Westbrook Supply Co. and Coyote Outdoors, they're doing a kayak demo day. All right, so that's June 12th. That's not this Saturday, but next Saturday at Lanier Point.
Yeah.
Yak
Boys.
That's for all you yackers. If you RSVP They're going to have lunch provided for you, but that's at Lanier Point in Gainesville. More information on the Westbrook Supply Company Facebook page. Okay, so go over after the show, not during the show, but after the show, go to the Westbrook Supply Company Facebook page. Check out the event. He asked me if I wanted to come. I'd love to be there, but I've got a segue into our next one, the Electric Elites. We've got a tournament on Varner on the 12th too. So again, if any of you guys down there at Varner, join us about 3:30 for the weigh-in. That's going to be a tough lake.
Social circle.
It is a pretty good little poke from here. Next week we will be releasing the revamped elite schedule for those that are interested, and so it's coming out. There's some pretty good little surprises on that. We've changed a few things. One more thing though, with the GAKFL tournament, the next one's June 26th on the Okmulgee River. Them kayak guys go everywhere, don't they? Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, they fishing all over the place. If there's a stream with water, you get a kayak guy in it.
You only need a few inches.
Show bass.
Show bass and some gators.
And gators. Hey, do they have those cypress? I mean, listen, do they got those little oxbow, little lakes off the Okmulgee, Paul? Okay, a little bit. So you got the cedar trees in the water?
No, that's not that far south.
Not that far south.
It's not the Okefenokee.
Oh, so we're on the fall line.
Yeah.
On the fall line. That's
fall line.
Where the show bass
down
are.
there in the Piedmont area.
In the Piedmont area of Georgia. So we'll do that.
If you
Nathan thinks
did your
big fish should be $100
geography.
in the rest of the winter next Wednesday night. We might do something like that. So again, we'll talk about it. We just decided tonight, about 45 minutes before the show, that we were going to do this. So let me introduce my star-studded panel tonight. Of course, behind the scenes, we've got Mr. Paul Coonan running the monitor back there, and of course correcting us where we're wrong and giving us a little extra information here and there. So we always appreciate Paul, the smartest one in the crowd, but we stick him behind the thing so don't make the rest of us look too dumb like that. If he was out here talking, we'd all just we'd look really silly. But so Paul's back there. Thank you very much for what you do, Paul. Ryan, you're here with me again today, big guy. You're here. Glad you could show up.
Always.
Again, Blake would be here, but again, he's doing something that's far more important. He's parenting, and that's what he should be doing tonight. He's got his boy tonight, so I know he's watching, but that's a good thing to do. And jumping in tonight, short notice, but you're jumping in, Mr. Robbie Woody of RW Customs. You want to say hello? You just want to sit there and
sit up.
Say hello.
How's it going?
How's it going?
Sit up, quit slouching.
Well, listen, he's probably nervous right now. He don't know what he's like. Oh, I don't even know what I got myself into.
We
right
got this. You just join along for the ride.
That's right. Now I tell you what, Robbie does. He's been around a long time. He's older than dirt. He's older than dirt, but a lot of guys know Robbie. But he does paint custom baits. He does it for us. We've got some of his stuff and got some new things that he's painted. We're going to put them on the site tomorrow. Does a lot of repaints. If somebody wants to no, you don't bring your kid down here and let him tear up my store there, Blake. that little booger gets in, he'll take every daggone pack of worms. They'll all be on the floor. Just but you're more than welcome to bring him down here if you want to. But Robbie, you do repaints, and if somebody has something and they want to get in touch with you,
Woody.
There you go, Woody, right there.
Woody.
We were going to name this episode Woody's Rod, but we didn't think it would sound too good.
No.
We don't want to be talking about Woody's Rod, but it's bad enough we're eating Steve's nuts. But anyway, if somebody wants to get in touch with you.
He thinks the Steve Nuts joke is hilarious.
The Steve Nuts.
You should have watched last week. We were going off. It was crazy.
I know it.
We had Steve Red. He was as red as a Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Anyway, if somebody wants, let's say they got an old I don't know what's a good old bait everybody wants to keep and they're trying to repaint. Sabills are really high on the list.
Wiggle warts.
Somebody's got a Sabill.
Yeah.
They want to get in touch with you and they want you to repaint it. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
More or less Facebook. I'm going to try to make a Facebook site just for RW Customs in the future. But just look me up, Robbie Woody, on Facebook. That's about the best way.
Gotcha. See, closer? You got to listen. Hey, listen, old fart. You got to get up here on that microphone.
Bring the microphone.
Get out there. Bring it to you. Be one with the microphone.
There you go.
One with the universe.
You're still not quite close enough.
Come on. No. There you go. Say something. You lucky I ain't
Hello?
making you sing a song.
Get
I
in
ain't
there.
singing no song.
How's that, Paul? Is that good? Can we hear the master now?
Get in there
A
like
little bit
it's
better.
Listen, you got to get in this thing. You have to be one with the microphone.
Get in there with that mic like it's one of them women you dream about.
I don't know about all that now.
Well, just trying to, this is how close you need to be.
All of a sudden, this show took a real bad turn. This show got real ugly real
quick.
fast.
Be Elvis with the mic.
Be Elvis with the mic.
Yeah.
You know what one of my favorite videos is on YouTube?
What, him singing "Love Me Tender"?
No, Suspicious Minds. And he's doing something. I mean, that Joker gets down. Elvis was my wife loves Elvis. So, but anyway, we ain't gonna talk about Elvis tonight.
No.
Let's do this. So let's go ahead. I want to go ahead and take a few minutes. Like I said, we got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about fishing rods. All right, because I think a lot of people don't understand, the purposes of what these letters on the side of these rods mean.
Parabolic action.
And I always get tickled when one of them comes in. They pull a rod off the rack and they start bending it, and I'm like, some of them I think know what they're talking about, but everybody does it. I think it's like it's like kicking the tires on a vehicle. Everybody does it, but not everybody. I think they do it just because they think they're supposed to do it. Because I hear some guys talking, and I'm like, that didn't make a bit of sense what you just said. But I'm trying to sell you that fishing rod, so I smile at you and just kind of like that. But we're gonna talk about it. Definitely go over the right stuff. What are you doing?
That's people on the academy. They take the rods. They go,
yeah, it's funny. I mean, since they've been in them rods, they get up there, and I'm just like, oh man. Well, that's an extra fast step. No, it ain't, buddy, but whatever. So we're going to talk about that, I promise, because we want you to pair the right rod for the right situation, what you're going through, unless you're a kayak guy, and then all of it goes out of the it's all different with you guys because y'all are sitting down. But, I'm just kidding.
that's
you guys.
when length becomes important.
Length becomes important. With it is. It is. So I'm just teasing because Paul's back there.
Paul.
And I know Paul's he's gonna pipe up, and we're gonna get to that. But I got two things that I want to do before we get to that. First, I want to give a shout out to the guys that fished the TEC this past Saturday, which is the Total Electric Championship, and very good field, very, very, very good field. A lot of good anglers down there. But I want to give congrats to Blake Yarder and Charlie Dick. They took first place. 19.37 pounds. All right. Now, well, what are we laughing at? I'm trying to be serious right here.
Pork taco. He just cracks me up.
He is. Pork taco is pretty funny, right? Yeah, he's a funny dude. He really does eat tacos every day for lunch. So you see his Facebook post page every day. He's at some gas station that's got the world's most amazing tacos. I don't know. I would not want to go home, go after him in the bathroom. He's always eating them tacos.
Dude, that woman can cook.
Can she cook?
Yeah.
Okay, well, somebody needs to bring me some of them tacos from coming in. But anyway, seriously, congratulations to Charlie and Blake. First place was 19.37 pounds. Second place, I'm gonna give you the top three. Josh Thompson and Tanner Carson, 19.21. So that was pretty close right there between first and second. And Michael Geiger and Randy Moore, third place with 18.52. So really competitive at the top right there, definitely. I think my pick was Driggers, and then for those that know it, I think they come in fourth or fifth. So I was close. Club champions. All right, and they take the cumulative weight of the club. So this year's club champion was Five Alive Bass Club, 61 pounds, 61.07 pounds. All right, so that's pretty impressive. Congratulations to you guys. And Big Fish was Brett Cummins with 6.26. And here's a pretty cool little thing. I kind of put out a post asking everybody about the weights. Let's guess the weight. Closest one wins a Veritas rod that we've got upstairs. And Jay Yarder, which is actually Blake Yarder's dad, won it. He guessed 19.40. So he was just barely off, 0.03 off. And so, of course, when I see Blake and them at the Elites next week, I'm going to deliver his rod to him. And it's pretty good. The TEC, that's really good. I think what's pretty cool is, too, and this is just for the guys watching, that the top 20, 18 of the top 20 anglers in the TEC either fished the Electric Elite this year or will be next year. There's your little surprise. How about that? Just giving you guys a shout out. So definitely an impressive field. So again, congratulations to Charlie and Blake, and good showing for everybody right there. Anthony Jones did a fine job with the announcing for ePropulsion as well. So very good job for all of them guys right there. Now, here's something that I put on the page that basically just fell into my lap a couple days ago. And you notice if you saw the post on Facebook today about the Etowah Wildlife Expo. Okay, so this is going to happen August 20th through the 22nd over at the old mill, the mill on the Etowah. If anybody's familiar with Canton, it's an old kind of like industrial park, big brick buildings. I think Reformation Brewery is over there. Are you aware of that, Paul? Do you know? Is that you don't know that? I have been there. I think this is where we're going to be. But I had a person contact me from there, and they asked Fish North Georgia if we would run the angling side of that, meaning we would be responsible for getting the vendors. Anybody, we're going to look for vendors. I'm going to be looking for guys that want to volunteer and help out on it. I'm going to be looking for guys that want to do demonstrations. They're going to have a bass tank there. The Etowah River is right beside this place. So we're going to definitely, they're wanting to do, I'll just give you an example. I'm going to read this, kind of an itinerary. And it's pretty cool because it's not just fishing. It's a little bit of everything. So Friday night, they're doing a reptile show. So much for that. I ain't crazy about snakes. And they're going to have live music on the main stage. That's Friday night. But Saturday, here's where we get going. It's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They're going to do a falconry show. Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
You awake over there?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a bad experience with a big old great horned owl at Amicalola Falls one time. So it was like, I was holding on to this great horned owl. You said falconry, and had what's the word? Deja vu.
Deja vu.
Yeah, I was like,
did you get attacked by the owl?
No, and that thing, they just sat on my arm like this, and dude, them jokers are heavy, dude.
Oh yeah, they're not little birds.
Yeah, and I was like the first one up there, and I had to hold that sucker for like 20 minutes.
Did you survive though?
Yeah,
you made it. All right, well, good. So they're gonna have a falconry show, a retriever exhibition, a reptile show again, a wildlife art show on the second floor, live music. But here's where we come in. Float fishing presentation on the Etowah. He wants me to get a couple of guys, and this is where maybe you kayak guys come in. Again, they want us to have some live demonstrations on the Etowah River right there for people. We're going to have some guys. They want us to have some guys that are going to be doing some casting, teaching people how to set up their stuff. Of course, vendors. I want to get all the companies that we can involved. You'll go through us, and we'll kind of, set it up and kind of tell you what to do. Bass fishing demonstrations. Now, we're going to have to get a few guys to get up on that bait tank. And actually, you've seen the pros where they're pitching stuff into the bait tank and stuff like that. And they're talking about the baits. They got the microphone on. You've seen the guys at Tactical Bass and do it. You've seen them doing that to other stuff. We got to find a few people to do that. They want to do a Q&A session. All right. So I'm going to try to get some local pros, some other guys, some guides, stuff like that to join in with us and let the crowds, ask you questions and stuff like that. And it's going to be a pretty good, they're expecting 7,000 to 10,000 people is what I was told. So let me just tell you this. If you're scared to talk in front of 3 or 4 people, this might not be for you. But if you're just like me, you can just hit me up and I can talk to anybody. I might not make any sense, but I can talk. All right. So the helicopter lure demonstration. The date is August 20th through 22nd. But the 20th is that Friday night. So it's only 5 to 10. So we can show up. But I don't think the fishing aspect is going to be that much on that Friday night. So I think it's just, I know that we've got to, the vendors have to be set up at 9:30, ready for the show opening at 10. Fish North Georgia will be there. True Grit will be there. I'm going to get some of the guys, definitely going to get some of the guys in the electric only world to bring their boats up and try to get ePropulsion and Elko there for people to come by and see. Check out these boats because some of these guys have got some really, really nice boats. Of course, we want to get some big water guys involved. I'm reaching out to the striper guys, the crappie guys. I really want to be the dominant force in this whole thing. and I want the angling community to go like, holy good grief, what just showed up. I'm also, I can tell you about FX, Chris. We'll have FX rods with us at the Fish North Georgia booth. I'm definitely doing that. So yeah, Joshua, if you're interested, definitely hit me up. And so we're going to do all kinds of stuff like that. I'm going to see if we can broadcast live for those that can't make it. At some point, we will have our cameras are set up right here. We do possess wireless microphones where we actually can stick them on and walk amongst the crowds and just kind of look at all the vendors and do stuff like that. So that all is coming to, I didn't tell Josh that. He don't know I'm making plans for him. But anyway, but the big thing about it is this just happened. And I felt really, really proud of what we're building here at Fish North Georgia for somebody with the Georgia Wildlife Federation to call me up and say, hey, we want Fish North Georgia to be responsible for the angling part of this. And they're going to have hunters, I think hunting stuff and all that stuff too. But for the angling part of it, we are responsible for setting it all up as far as that. So again, I think that's pretty cool opportunity. And I told Ryan, you better get ready to start making a bunch of jigs for the True Grit part. We got a lot of that going on. We're going to be promoting it. And again, like I'm going to try to get a lot of the local bait manufacturers to come up and do that. But again, this is very short notice. Huh?
Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie, actually, you could do some painting on site. We could do that.
The joy of painting lures with Robbie Woody.
That's it. Listen, that's all we need, like a little fire in the background.
We're going to paint us a happy little spook.
This is a happy. This is a happy.
Now we're going to
happy.
And you know what? We don't make mistakes when it comes to bass fishing lures. It's just happy little accidents.
So anyway,
that black back's red. Let's turn it brown.
I've done it before.
Listen, the whole point of it. Wait till you see these little chrome ones I'm gonna put on the site tomorrow, like that. Steve Pinkston, I was gonna reach out to you for a booth. It's $250. However,
Steve better bring some nuts with funnel cake.
That's for the entire weekend. It is a Saturday and a Sunday, but I was told that I could kind of help out on that a little bit. So hit me up. I think we can do a little bit better for this first year because this is the inaugural. Is that how you say it? Inaugural. It's been a long day, man. Inaugural.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
The inaugural.
Inaugural.
I don't know. We're from North Georgia, man.
I sound like I'm slurring something. Ain't being said right. But anyway, it's the first time they're doing it. All right. So
beat the devil out. He takes that brush on the side of that canvas.
Yes, absolutely. So like that.
Beat the devil out of it. Oh, Robbie over there. Beat the devil out of it. I can see him now.
No, I don't think so on that one.
Poor old crankbait sitting over there just like, what is about to happen?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, Ryan, you got to have a kissing booth again. Oh, my goodness.
I will.
I wouldn't kiss you with Robbie's lips. Oh, my Lord. I wonder, that's some fundraising right
I've
there.
never had a girl tell me I didn't kiss good.
Well, you're 8'2". They're probably scared too. I mean, seriously. You don't think you have been lied to?
Let's not go down that path.
You don't think you have been lied to about
inaugural? See, look at time.
Inaugural. All right. So anyway, Ryan, the kissing master Sheffield, will be there. How about a dunk tank?
Ooh.
I know a lot of people would like to throw shit at me.
I'd rear back and throw. I would rear back and throw as many times as I could.
I bet we could make some money.
Oh man,
just
a wine in the pit.
Oh, we're having fun. Listen, guys, it's been like this for the last 2.5 hours up here. So, what's up, Jonathan Bowen? Again, hey, listen, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're one of the few that tune in on Facebook, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Correct? Did I say that right? StreamYard, there we go. StreamYard.com/Facebook. Put your name in so that way when you make comments, we know your name, and that way you can't insult me like that. But hey, listen, I'll get a dunk tank. I've been in one of those before, so that would be good. But again, it's gonna be a fun weekend. So make plans now just to attend the event.
It's gonna be hot.
It will be hot. You're not gonna be fishing.
Come in, yeah. You can come in, look at fishing, talk fishing. Yeah. Be around people about fishing.
They're gonna have live music.
We'll
all be
Blackberry
there.
Smoke.
Do a flipping competition. Hey, listen, we might actually get guys out there doing demonstrations. So that's kind of we've got to plan this. Got a couple months to plan it amongst 500 other thousand things I got to plan. But what's one more?
Well, you got help now.
I got help now. Is that what it is? I got you.
You got me.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
You my Robin.
Wonder Twin Power. Activate.
Wonder Twin Power activate. Then we have to have a ring or something.
Yeah.
There we go.
See, I got
right.
my ring on. So
You
we
got your.
yours,
So
yeah.
anyway, that is the Etowah Wildlife Expo, August 20th through 22nd.
Got a couple questions.
22nd.
How much is a ticket?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know
Listen,
either.
seriously, I got. Well, you know, it might be
More details to come.
More
This is-
details
this
to
is-
come.
It's 2 months away.
3 easy payments.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I will tell you this too. Now, this is something I don't have the details on, but that Saturday night, if you buy a ticket, now I don't know how much these tickets cost, but they are doing a wild game dinner.
Ooh.
Okay, so hey, you know, if you want to eat some deer, I'm sure it's up there. I hope they cook it right because I like deer.
I want some possum meat gristle.
Possum? Yeah, at some point, Mario was supposed to bring us some squirrels and some squirrel chili and something like that up here. Mario, I know you're watching, or Mario, however we want to say it. I know you're watching. Listen to me. There's supposed to be some kind of chili or something he's supposed to bring us. What is the one wild game animal that you would not eat? Absolutely no way in the world.
Possum.
Possum.
Yeah,
Why?
they're nasty.
They're nasty.
Greasy.
Oh, how you know they're greasy?
I ate one a long time ago.
You've eaten a possum.
He's eating a
I ate a
possum.
piece of one.
Okay, what does possum taste like?
Grease.
Pretty much greasy.
Well, I mean, seriously, is it stringy? Is it tough? Or, I mean,
It's
was it in
kinda
a
tough.
casserole? What
It's
you eating
kind of
with?
tough. It's been many years ago.
Listen, I
can't
love a
remember
casserole.
exactly.
Someone's dead at the funeral home. They're showing up with a possum casserole.
Oh, I got some Baptist in me. We do casseroles, man.
Lord.
Listen, yeah, I'll eat a casserole.
How was it prepared?
How was the possum prepared?
Boiled? Was it grilled?
Man, it's been I don't know how many years.
He
When I was
don't
a
know.
kid,
He's-
I'm old now. It's
I
been
have
a while.
eaten. Listen, now I tell you, you got to parboil an old squirrel. You got to soften that meat up just a little bit. Have you ever eaten squirrel
No,
nuts?
no,
Would you?
no. Squirrel nuts?
Yeah.
Hell no.
I've got one in the backyard. I swear to God, he's toting around 255-gallon drums. I don't know how he goes up the tree. There's like a path up the tree where that thing's just bumping. Seriously. You wouldn't do it.
It's like truck nuts.
What's truck nuts?
You don't know.
No.
It's like the people driving around in the big jacked up diesel trucks. They got a damn back there behind in front of the hitch. They get the
Oh,
the
yeah.
ball sack. They're called truck nuts.
I had a daughter one time she wanted us to go get a pig. And I know we're going to talk rods, guys. I promise we're going to talk rods.
Oh God.
She wanted me to go get a pig. So we drove out to some farm in Jackson County.
Oh,
And I mean,
Lord.
we're off the beaten path, and this is one of them farms that they probably produce some illegal stuff at too. But we pull up, and all of a sudden, you see walking up the hill, and I mean, dude,
volleyballs.
2 of them.
Volleyballs.
Listen, I didn't speak for 5 minutes because I was trying to figure out how that was physically possible. Number one, and I was embarrassed. Number two, I was like, that ain't fair. That's big as your head. Seriously,
I don't want to think about it.
would you eat those
No,
if we had them on the table, cooked and prepared right now?
absolutely not.
How about Rocky Mountain? I mean, would you eat the
Dude,
cow?
I don't eat much like unless it's like chicken or steak or beef. Like,
So you're boring.
yes.
Okay, so you're a boring date. How about you, Robbie?
But see, look, I didn't get this big.
I'd probably try.
He would try it.
you would try it.
I'd try it.
Okay,
I
how would
wouldn't
you like
try
it
it.
prepared? If you were going to eat some.
You
Those.
got me on that one. I don't know.
How do you prepare those? All right, anyway, I don't know. So,
Well done. Baked
Well
potato, buttered sour cream.
They might have some of this at the
Try it.
at the wild. Let's see.
Everything else.
I was embarrassed. The hog was packed better. Hog was packed better than 89% of Georgia. Seriously. All right, but anyway, they might have some at the wild game dinner that night. So be prepared. So anyway, if you're in all seriousness, if you're interested in being a part of this, and I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of companies, I would love to have the Fish North Georgia family, our community, to be well represented. All the guys that we love to be around and stuff like that. We can get up there. We actually can have a good time. I think like that and make it make a statement is what I want to do. I know they're going to, like I said, they're going to have the hunting vendors and all that, but I want the our crowd, our people to show up amongst the 7,000 that they're expecting. We'll be the ugly stepchildren or whatever, the black sheep, but whatever we're going to represent. So if you're interested in being a part of it, let me know. If you're interested in volunteering, helping out, if you really want to step up and do a demonstration, if you want to show off your boat, we'll figure out ways to do stuff like that. So hit me up here on Facebook at Fish North Georgia, and or personally if you know me, and we will set that up. So now I think I've made all my announcements, and we've talked about stuff we probably didn't need to talk about on a fishing show.
That's okay.
That's okay. We go where it leads.
We're on good time right now. So
are we doing good? Yeah, we've
Yeah,
only
we
been
are
at
doing
30
good.
minutes, and we ain't run off everybody yet.
No,
So
not
hey, we're
yet.
doing really, really good. So guys, here's what last week we were doing the show, and somebody brought up fishing rods, and not everybody. You heard me talk a little bit earlier. Not everybody, myself included. I'm no expert by no means on it. A lot of guys will come in and they'll ask me, what rod is good for this? What rod is good for that? Will we be showing off our boat? I don't know. There's a lot nicer boats that are in the elites and other things. So I don't know, but we want to show people the motors and stuff like that. So we want to talk about rods and what people can do to make sure that they actually understand what they're looking at. And I got to looking at all this, and there's a lot of information out there that sometimes it contradicts itself. But I picked up one article here that I thought just kind of summarized it pretty good. So I'm going to go over it real quick, and then we can turn around and break it down and talk about it for an hour or so. The biggest thing that I see people do, they don't understand the action of a rod. All right. And so your basic actions, are extra fast, medium or mod, is what they called it, or slow. Now, this is something that I found interesting. Do you know how they really break it down? Either one of you, how they break it down when you go into what constitutes extra fast? I mean, I know you know what the rod's supposed to do, but do you know technically how they break it down?
Probably this might be a wrong answer, but I know that every rod blank every company is classified by a scale of either like 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 or like 1 to 10.
Yeah, they didn't get into that. So this
Okay.
is not the way they broke it down. You're probably right.
Okay.
This is where they broke it down. So an extra fast rod, and we're talking the action is the amount that it takes to bend, bend the rod, and it basically, how they say the
like 80, 20, 70, 30, 90.
kind of stuff like that. But an extra fast rod, always the tip, that action always occurs in the upper end of the rod, never more than a third down the rod, generally 1/2 of that third. So in the very last foot of the rod. All right. A fast action rod, the action occurs all the way down to 1/3 of the rod. Okay. Mediate and moderate, that action can go down to 1/2 of the rod. And then a slow rod gets into the lower third. Now, I had never heard it broke down that way. And that might not be the technical numbers. And I'm sure there's smarter people out there that got formulas and algebra and all that stuff that we didn't learn in high school. But for the layman, for the common guy, a fast and an extra fast, the action's in the top third. Medium or mod, it's in the top half. Slow, with a lot of parabolic bend, or whatever they call it, goes all the way down into the bottom third of the rod. Does that make sense to you? Either one of you guys have any?
I just know what rod actions I like on certain baits.
We're going to get to that. But I think guys come in here.
But, and that's what I'm getting at.
They grab that rod. They go to bend it. They go to bend it. And we ain't got on that. See, again, Chris Taylor, you're jumping the gun. The bending chart and all that by weights is a little bit different. The way they use it in this. That's more of the power of the rod. Is actual what it takes to bend the rod is actually the power. We're talking just the action and what it takes to bend and come back, So what's the best way to test the action and balance of a rod before buying it? Okay. We know what most people do.
It depends upon what you want to throw is where I start.
Okay.
If I'm going to go get a rod to do something specific, that's where I'm going to start breaking it down into what actions and lengths that I want. I've had people ask me what kind of rod, but see, it's hard for me to tell you this is the rod that I throw, because the rod that I throw, it may not be good for you because I'm 6'7".
Right.
So I have a longer arm span than the average person. So it's different for me.
Right.
You know, a longer rod feels better for me in my hand than a shorter rod. I'm not trying to be
I know
dirty.
you're not. I know you're not.
But you
I
sitting
know.
there smirking.
But I'm sitting.
about
I'm
it.
having to look at you from a foot away when you say that. It's kind of.
Well, I mean,
It is funny. I love you, but I understand what you're saying. But it's,
I mean,
it's
that's
different.
just me. That's just how a person do it. How's Robbie like to do it?
How does Robbie do?
I like the fast action.
He gets close to the mic first.
I like the fast action rods, GLXs, stuff like that for jig fishing. More or less the crankbait rods, more or less medium heavy water. You
Right.
get what I'm saying?
Right. I got what you're saying. But how did you come to that conclusion? Just, I mean, time.
Well, I didn't have YouTube and all that stuff when I was growing up, when I started fishing. So we just bought them and see.
And so
saw
just
what's
over
going
time,
on.
you figured out what you want. Well, see, the question was, what's the best way? So this fella's going to a store, and he's going to buy a rod. Now, you say it's according to what you're throwing, but let's just say, how do you test it other than the guy gets it and they bend it on the ground? And again, I don't think most people really understand what they're looking at with that, because I've seen them. I've seen them, I take a medium light rod or something like that, or something like that. Oh, that's got a really fast tip. And I'm like, no, bro, you're wrong. But they just have programmed themselves to bend it on the floor. So how do you do it? Or you just know?
Well, I mean, I'll bend them on the floor, if it's a rod like I've never touched before. Like,
and what are you looking for
like,
when you bend it on the floor?
Well, I mean, I just kind of look to see, I look at what the label is and what it says. It's 7 foot, medium heavy, fast tip.
Right.
And then I kind of look, because generally, I know it said what it said, but a lot of the rod blanks from different companies, they use different blanks.
Mm-hmm.
So some blanks are different than other blanks. One rod company's blank is maybe different than another rod company's blanks, and they may classify it as fast or extra fast or whatever.
Right.
But compared side by side, they may be a little bit more flex than the other one compared, but they're the same rod, same action, everything. Like, for example, like Falcon rods.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon rods are all ass and a lot of tip.
Okay.
I mean, they're made. I mean, a Falcon rod, they're you can pick up a Falcon rod and you can throw a lot of different lures on one rod from a Falcon, because they all generally have kind of the same tip action. But then as you progress down the blank to the backbone of it, you have some that are heavier and you have some that are lighter.
Right.
So, it generally, from rod company to rod company, it changes depending upon the blank that they use.
I'm looking up.
I know. I looked up. I seen what's a hot color crankbait.
You can answer that, because I'm looking up an answer for Tyler. So what's the hot color crankbait right now? Anywhere?
Pretty much just chartreuse and blackback, maybe.
Okay.
That's pretty much a good color.
You looking at more on the Alatoona side, or is that Big Lake, or just anywhere?
Big lakes.
Big Lake. Okay. So I saw that question right there. Is there such a thing as a resonant point? And I'm like, oh gosh, we got somebody asking a question that I have no idea what it means.
I've never heard of that before.
And I hadn't either. So I just Googled it real quick. And that question says, what is a resonance point? A resonance describes the phenomenon of increased amplitude that occurs when the frequency of a periodically applied force, or a Fourier component of it, is equal to or closer to the natural frequency of the system on which it acts. So given that information that I just read, I don't know what in the hell. I don't know. Maybe you can explain to us exactly what you're looking for. So I think that what you're saying,
Chris hit the nail on the head too.
Depends on
a lot of people think that the more expensive the rod, the better, and everything is about it. That's not really necessarily true.
Mm-mm.
Not by the long shot, because I've got rods in my boat that are high dollar, and I have rods in my boat that are low dollar. And I can promise you this: it's been years of this rod sucks, this rod's nice, I'm gonna keep this rod. I like throwing these lures on this rod. I like doing this with this rod. A lot of it's experience. And as bad as it sounds, the one thing that anybody listening should get out of this, and I know this is going to be, cheek and tongue here. You got to buy stuff and you got to go throw it and you got to use it in order to really understand what
That's
is this
true.
rod good for.
That's true.
Because if you take a rod and you're like, man, I like this rod, I'm gonna throw Texas rig plastics on this or something like that, and you get out there and you're like, I just don't like the way this feels when I ain't got the feel that I want when it's on the bottom.
Right.
But that rod may have served some other perfect purpose for something else.
I got you.
So it's all really, I'm not, like I said, cheek and tongue. You kind of got to spend a little bit of money to understand what you like and what you need. And this is like anything else. Bottom line is fishing's a hobby. And I don't know many people who don't indulge in their hobbies who don't spend a little bit of money on their stuff. So, but like what Chris was saying, exactly about echoing back what he was saying, just because it's a $400 rod does not mean that this thing is going to take you to Saturn and back. It's not.
Right.
Because I go ahead and tell you right now, I have a rod that I paid $59.99 for it about 10 years ago, and I still have that rod. It has not broke, and it's caught hundreds of fish. And it was a $59.99 rod. And it is by far the best buzzbait rod I've ever found.
What kind is it?
It is a Quantum Bill Dance, 7-foot medium heavy. And it is not really a medium heavy. It is borderline medium to medium heavy. But when they get the bait, the rod tip will bend down and I'll let them eat the bait before I set the hook on them.
So it's got.
I swear to God, knock on wood, I probably have only lost 1% of the fish that I've hooked up on a buzzbait.
Okay, so
where they actually throw the hook.
All right, so then let's jump into this, and both of you guys can jump on it. What we're talking about, if a $59.99 rod serves you that well, why spend $499 on a rod?
I think a lot of things nowadays is hype, and they've got to have the best sensitivity and all this other stuff. Got to have this, got to have that. I don't like these guides. I like these guides better. This rod has these guides, blah, blah, blah. Cork handle. What's the stuff called that's not cork handle? The foam grip, whatever you want to call it. Split grip, full cork handle, full grip.
Are we catching anglers instead of worrying about catching fish?
We're. I think a lot of it nowadays has got too deep into all the little bitty spectrums about it. I break my rods down into 3 categories that I have. I have my sensitive rods for when I'm wanting to throw like jigs and stuff, and then I have my rods that have good tips for moving baits, and then I have my other rods that I classify as specialty techniques.
Right.
Like frog rods, flipping rods, and stuff like that. And they only do what those rods do.
Scroll up a couple, back up. There's a comment just above Blake's. If you're going up, the 3 right there, Eric Payne's right there. So here's what he says. What 3 rods would you keep if you had to get rid of everything else? I would keep a 6.6 medium light, a 7-foot medium heavy casting rod, and a 6.10 medium spinning rod. If it were me, and I'm going to answer first because in that way I can take a bathroom break while both of y'all talk. I can tell you right now, I've got a 6.10. I've got a 6.10 FX. That's my jig rod. All right. So, and it is it's more of a medium heavy. It's got a little bit of a fast tip. I like it. You got to have one good real spinning rod or your spinning rod. And so, lengthwise, that all just depends on what you want to do on that. But I think you got to have one long one for casting the big stuff. So like a 7.8, 7.10, extra heavy or, something like that for casting the bait. So but those 3 rods, if you got your basic jig rod, plastic worm rod in that 6.10 to 7.1 range, you got your spin rod, and then you got something for heavy. If you like throwing heavy stuff, you pretty much can cover everything.
Pretty much.
Now all mine are FX. But I'm not going to make this an FX show. That's just what I like. I know that that 6.10 though, it's a hell of a jig rod for me. So how about you? I'm gonna let Robbie, you and Ryan can talk about it while I run upstairs real quick, and I'll be back. But talk about the 3 rods on your boat. If you had nothing else, what you would keep. Either one of you can go first.
You can go first.
I got a GLX, and this for primarily just jigs and worms. And I do have a fairy wand, as we call it on Altoona, and it's just for like wacky rigs and little worms, stuff like that. But crankbaits, I got like 3 or 4 different types of rods. I got El Cheapo from Bass Pro Shop. I got 15, 20 years ago. Pretty much use them for square bills, stuff like that. Some small top water, and primarily got a 2 St. Croix rods I bought probably about 12 years ago. But I use them for crankbaits, but for chatterbaits also, because everybody thinks, oh, you got to have a broomstick or whatever. It's kind of in the middle of lightweight to like medium heavy maybe, but it's good for crankbaits, but it's killer for chatterbaits.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize is a chatterbait is essentially a crankbait, but it's got a blade on it, because you're essentially trying to do almost the exact same thing with it. So for me personally, if I got 3 rods that I absolutely had to have, that was the only ones that I could have, I got a 6.6 medium heavy. It's a Quantum Smoke rod. I can throw everything from flukes to shaky head worms to, whatever on that rod. It's just one of them rods that'll throw anything. And then I got several of them, but probably a Dobbins 7.3 medium heavy. I can't remember what the exact number is on it, because all the Dobbins guys go by the numbers. You can tell them what you want. They're like, oh, it's 704 XSC. I'm like, just
730 something.
730 something. Yeah, 730 something. But it's a 7.3 medium heavy, and it'll do pretty much anything that I need to do as far as throwing like jigs and plastics. And I've even thrown swim baits on it. So it'll do all that. It'll cover that rod or that water column. And then probably just like a 7-foot medium heavy rod with a good slow tip to it for like spinner baits and stuff. Other than that, that's probably, if I had to keep 3, then that is what I would keep. What are the link? We could see an FX jig rod on here. I'll tell you
right here.
I
got one.
He's got one. I'll tell you what I throw my smaller jigs on, casting jigs on, is a FX rod. It's a 7.1 medium heavy extra fast tip, and I like the feel of it. It's light, and it does what I want to do as far as throwing like jigs from a 1/4 ounce all the way up like 1/2 ounce. I really like that rod.
Yeah,
I bought it from Danny in about a year, last year.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and
you're due for another one.
Yeah, I'm due for another one, I guess. But
I actually went over to our boat. That's one good thing about having a boat right by the studio. And I picked the 3 rods that if I had to keep to fish everything. And so this is the one that it's a little heavy, but this is the one I throw jigs on. It's a 610 heavy fast, but it is very versatile where I can throw other stuff on. I've even thrown shaky heads on this at times when I needed it. So, but it's 610. I'm a little bit of a shorter guy again, so it works good for me. And I really can, when I actually do get bites, I do actually catch a fish from time to time. That fast action, it really, I can get into the fish pretty good, but I like the heavy. This one's stiff, and for some reason, I don't know, it just suits me. Not everybody likes a really stiff, heavy rod, but I do. A lot of people are more on the moderate, stuff like that. So, did you say anything about heavy? Do you like heavy rods?
For certain things,
things.
Yeah.
So that's the jig rod that I use. Now that might not be the choice for everybody, but that's it.
And I said extra fast. Chris actually got the exact rod that I throw my jigs on. That 7.1 medium heavy. I said extra fast is actually fast. So.
Gotcha. And this one, here's my fairy wand of choice. And again, like I said, this is just, I use it for a lot of different things, but you can go from Ned rigs, all this, but this one's a little bit different. When I go to a spin rod, I like them a little bit longer for some reason. I don't know why. So this is a titanium.
Is that 7.4?
No, this one's a 7-foot. Now I have a 7.4, but it's in the extreme. So this one's just a little bit longer. It's actually, but this is the higher end. Again, like I said, I don't want to make this an FX. I want to do a commercial. I want to do this more for just showing you the rod. But this is a medium fast.
That's how he holds it too.
This is how I hold it. Now, listen, true story.
Ooh,
True
Lord.
story. I have tried that before. So like that. So I like the 7 foot with this. Again, I think you get into the 6'10" to 7'2", you got a lot of versatility with the rod. Now the best thing is a 7.6 on my cranking rod though. When I get into my crankbaits, I go a little bit longer. So the one that I've got behind me here is 7'6", but it's got a lot more bend to it, a lot more play. So it's and I even throw my swim jigs on it. What is that right there? I'm gonna tear my eyes all off.
That's okay.
Yeah.
7.6 medium heavy, moderate fast.
Medium heavy,
cranking
moderate
rod.
fast, but it's designed for cranking. So yeah,
It's designed for throwing bigger plugs too.
it is. It is.
Any of your plugs that are over a half ounce.
Yeah. So again, like I said, these show how you bend and test them out. Well, look, here's what everybody does. They come into my store and they get a rod and they do this, and they start bending it. And I think I'm gonna put a mat out there because everybody just sticks it on the hardwood floor and they get a brand new, rod. And they go, hey, well, look at that. Yep. That is and I hear guys, and listen, I've seen the same guys, or different guys hold up the same rod, and every one of them give you three different types of action right there. So Tim White, hey Woody, you look bored.
I'm not.
I told him
I'm
to
just
talk.
thinking.
Listen, I told him upstairs, I said, you want to hang around for the show? He brought me some baits. I said, you want to hang around? I said, you just got to talk like you do upstairs. And I promise you upstairs he talks.
Oh, yeah.
He's just, right now, he's just sitting there.
He'll talk till the cows come home.
He'll talk, but now I tell you, just got to get him used to it. This is his first time in front of a camera. So
I was just looking at what Michael said about the 5-inch Senkos. I'd use your FX rod, your spinning rod.
Right.
Danny was showing you.
Would you go with 7 or 7? I mean, would you go longer?
I'd go with longer, at least 7 foot
Okay.
for a Senko or a wacky rig, whatever you want
Like
to call
that.
it.
But is that what your GLX is? I mean, did you say you had that?
Yeah.
What length is it?
It's 7.
It's a 7 foot. Now, let me ask you this. How long have you had it?
Over 5 years.
So you've had it for a while. Do you find that a lot of guys will go buy that rod just because that's the in rod? That's what they're supposed to. You got to have an NRX or stuff like that.
I'd do it for the sensitivity period.
Right.
And they might be a little bit lighter and spend a little bit more money. You get a lighter weight reel. It helps in the long run, put it that way, but it ain't for everybody if you're just a fun fisherman or whatever.
Right, like that. So what is the cheapest rod that you've ever used? You said $59.99. That's your buzzbait that you used successfully for a long period of time. What about you?
10 plus years, yeah.
Yeah.
A Walmart special, I think it was like $29.99, and it was one of the best jig rods back in the day.
Back in the day. Now,
Yeah.
what is back in the day?
Probably about 25 years ago.
All right. So if that rod was still available today, would you buy it?
Hard question.
If that exact rod, if you walked into whatever store of your choice, and there's a million of them around here, and that rod was right there and it was still $29.99, would you buy it?
The technology nowadays is a lot better. I wouldn't.
You would not buy it.
Nope.
Just because even though it was a great jig rod for that time.
Yeah.
And why? Why would you not? I mean, what's lacking on it?
Sensitivity.
There you go.
Well, okay, so sensitivity.
Once anybody out there who's watching or listening in, if you haven't felt a light bite on a high dollar, I say a high dollar rod, I'm gonna say really a sensitive rod, but most of them that are super sensitive are pretty high dollar. Until you feel that bite that you never realized before that you getting that bite, you're gonna swear up and down. You're like, I'm never going back to anything else. Because when you can feel stuff, some rods you can feel. I'm on the bottom and I'm hitting something, but you don't know what you're hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like for example, since we got it sitting over here, like that FX rod that I got that I throw my jigs on, I can tell you if I'm in brush If I can tell you if I hit a piece of wood laying down there, or I can tell you if I'm hopping off chunk rock or pea gravel, I can feel it in my rod. I can feel it in my hand. What is going on down there. And once you get that far, to my opinion, there's no turning back for sensitivity presentations like jigs and worms and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So, but you can get away, because I'm looking at the comments, with a more of a fiberglass if you're using spinner baits, chatter baits, buzz baits, where you need and you can have that give.
Well, those are reaction baits, and sometimes you gotta let the fish eat the bait, and that loading up on those rods really helps them get the bait before because like anybody who throws a spinner bait on like too stiff of a rod, for example, and they talk about missing fish, well, more or less, they're taking the bait out of their mouth
right
before they can really get a hook in them. A hook set on a spinner bait really ain't that hard. I've seen people jack them.
Yeah.
It's like they get a bite on a spinner bait.
That thing goes right by your head.
It's a big one, and it's like, if you watch me, if you go fishing with me and we're catching fish on a spinner bait, I just lean into them. I rear back into them. I don't jump in the back of the boat, take a step back. All it is that snap set, hook set, hard snap. And that's all you need. Because you let the action of the rod do the work for you of driving that hook point through to the fish's mouth.
I got you. Robbie, what is better in your opinion, fiberglass rods or composite rods? And do you own any?
I used the fiberglass for crankbaits way back when, but
do you own any fiberglass now? Because I know some guys, I know Gayton still has some fiberglass.
I think I got one left, and I use a spinner bait on that one.
So you're progressing away from it as time goes along.
Yeah, when I get the money, I'll get something a little bit better quality.
Right, like that.
I have one, and it's the only one that I throw like 6XDs and stuff on. But the only reason I throw that glass rod with 6XDs is because if you go to throwing it all day in a tournament or something like that, a glass rod will not wear you out near as bad as a composite rod with a crankbait. If you've thrown a crankbait like on a composite graphite rod like all day long, you go home and you're like, God almighty, I can't open a beer can.
Right.
Because your wrists and your forearms are just shot. But that glass absorbs a lot of that vibration and a lot of that pull, and it soaks it up. So it's a lot easier to crank, and it's a lot easier to sit there and dredge all day long. You lose a little bit of sensitivity with a glass rod compared to graphite.
Right.
But let's be honest, when you're throwing a 6, needing the most sensitive little thing in the world, because when they get a 6XD, they get a 6XD.
Right.
They try to jerk the rod out of your hand, a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Not all the time, but a lot of times they'll try to jerk the rod out of your hand, and there's no doubt what you got.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Did you check that? Did you check microphone number 4? Did anybody check it before the show started? And the reason I ask is, hey, we need a kayak. You might as well go on the wide shot and get in here for a second. And seriously, get in here for a second. Let's talk about it from the kayak point of view as well, because,
I don't know if I'll be able to offer much.
you can't offer much. Bring in the chair right there.
If we're being open, because I don't feel like I do.
Come sit by me, Paulie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. So anyway, it is Pride Month, so there you go. Just for y'all. So, and those of you out there, whatever, you do you. So, shorter rods minus swim bait. Look at this. It's like a bull in a china shop, which I should have told him I was going to ask him to come in at some point. So not a big deal. We're not even using that camera right now, so we're good. Yeah, we got Robbie in there. Shorter rods minus swim bait rod is in my arsenal. So, yeah. So, okay. How about you, Paul? So you, you're in a yak a lot.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've never bought a rod just because I fish out of the kayak.
Okay, so you don't buy I need a shorter rod. You just buy it for what?
That's never changed the calculus of buying a rod for me.
Okay, so what goes into it with you?
Obviously, I think when you first start fishing, right, you have a lot of generalist rods.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody starts out with a medium and a medium heavy. And then kind of depending on where you're at, maybe you get something heavier than that if you're somewhere that's got heavy cover, or if you're one of us, probably you fish a finesse lake, right? And you got a medium light.
Right.
I don't own a medium light rod.
Yeah, he's different. He's different. He's
I'm
different.
just-
Keep going. Don't
I'm
let him
just
throw you
saying.
off. Don't let him throw you off. I know what you're saying.
And so, and then as you kind of get more and more into fishing, and you start to be specialized, and that's where you start to have, oh, well, every rod I have needs a job.
Mhm.
Yeah, and people are like that. Yeah.
That's why I got 30.
Yeah, I know.
Me
I've seen your
too.
boat.
Yeah,
Well,
It is. The deeper down the rabbit hole you go, I mean,
it is.
hold on. While you're talking, I want Tim White because I know you're watching. I know Tim White. You throw an A-rig a lot. In fact, more than anybody I know. What what rod are you throwing your A-rig on? If you don't mind, or the length and the stuff. If you don't mind telling everybody, I'm just curious and watching all the comments come. So, I'm just kind of because you were talking about being specific and being special as we get on. He's been fishing a long time, so that's kind of why
I mean, we're all special.
we're all special. Let me read John's comment. I switched over to moderate action rods when I started fishing from the kayak. It helps to keep the rod loaded up when the kayak is bouncing around or being pulled towards the fish.
I could see that.
That would make sense.
100%.
Not something you would experience in a bass boat, but in again a different his element, the element that he's in. Yeah, there's no
100%.
way. Yeah, so
Well, I mean, too, in the kayak, like the kayak becomes part of your drag system.
Yeah.
Because any fish that's more than a couple 3 pounds is fully capable of pulling the boat.
Mhm.
right.
I mean, you can lean back and let him tow you if you want. Stripers are great for it.
Oh, I bet they
They'll
are.
pull you all, big one, pull you all over the place.
I
and not
bet they
even
will.
notice. And so especially when you get what
This guy, I like to see him with a striper on his kayak. Yeah.
it's fun.
But
It's
he's
fun.
always in Bald Ridge, so I mean, I'm sure he gets into them every once in a while.
I have no doubt.
I think to John's point, I think that's right, especially when you get them close and you got them boat side and you're really trying to get them to the net or get them to hand. That softer rod and having that little bit of extra tip helps you a lot to keep that rod from unloading. I've definitely had that happen before. I've especially jig fishing, you jack them and the rod's too fast, boat moves and the rod just goes, rod straightens right back out,
Yes,
jig falls out.
yes.
And you're done.
Let me ask all of y'all this, and we're gonna start with you, Robbie, and go around to Paul and then to Ryan. What is he goes? I think it's a 7-foot Berkeley shock rod, heavy action. Okay, and again, so like I said, and I say that because I know we fish around Tim a lot. And he likes to throw an A-rig. You ain't throwing an A-rig on a 6.6. That you get number one, you gotta be able to throw the thing. It's gotta be able to handle it. But you also, especially if you're tournament fishing, again, like you said, you gotta be able to throw it all day. And if you throw it if you throw that big old bait on the wrong rod, you're not going to even last throwing it all day long. The question I want to ask all of you is, what is the worst mistake you've ever made in choosing a rod for a particular application? Like you thought, I bought a rod for X and it didn't work out, and you changed. And if you ain't got none, any of y'all can answer in any order.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Because you're thinking, see, you weren't prepared for all the questions I was going to ask.
I'm not gonna.
He sat on the couch up there, and I said, "Hey, listen, you want to be on the show? Just talk." But I didn't ask him these questions up there. We were talking about deer hunting. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not gonna put any brand names on Front Street, but and y'all have heard this story before. I had one of the companies out there that I got one of their crankbait rods, and I loved it. And I thought, well, I really like this rod. I was kind of in the market for another just bread and butter bait caster, a medium heavy, just basic setup. And so I settled in on just a 7.3 medium heavy fast. And I thought it would be similar to my other 7-foot medium heavy fast, which is a rod that most everybody has.
Right.
And when I got it, the difference between what one company's fast and the other's fast was so
Different.
radical.
Yeah.
That 7.3 rod, it had no tip. It didn't load.
It's a broomstick.
Yeah. And if you could load it, it would unload so fast, especially on a fish. If you didn't have a monster, there was just nothing to it. And I hope that it would break in a little bit, because I've had rods that break a little the more you use them. And it's just become one of those rods that's not had a purpose for me.
Right. And that's what you said earlier about one company's, their
Blanks are different,
Their blanks are different, their qualifications like that. Real quick, I want to answer this question. If you take FX rods out of the picture, what would be the next rod in y'all's boat? Okay, I can tell you for me, it wouldn't be anything because that's all I fish with. But the last one I did own was an NRX. I did like the NRX. It was very good. I felt it was a little bit too flimsy on the end, though. For me, it just wasn't. A little bit too much. And I forgot I sold it to Chris Gayton, so he's got it now, so I can tell you what it is. What about you, there, Ryan? I mean, a mistake on a rod, or something that you thought.
I bought a 7'11" extra heavy flipping stick one time for fishing grass and stuff. And I realized real quick, I'm a big guy, but I realized real quick that you don't necessarily need 7'11". Now my rod is a 7.5 foot extra heavy. It's a flipping stick.
So you went too much.
I went too much rod.
So what bothered you about it?
I lost control of where I was of pitching and flipping.
So you couldn't hit it.
I couldn't flip into the little holes in the grass like I wanted to. And I just I guess the extra length was just, I had learned to pitch and flip on something 7.5 foot under. So it was hard for me to get that extra half a foot. And I was like, woo, floating up there in the air a little bit too much. It takes some getting used to. So, and I traded that rod for a warm smoke reel.
Well, let me ask y'all this: with today's technology, if you're going into the $80-$90 range on up, is there really a bad rod out there? Unless you're really getting high level, for the everyday guy that watches this at the end of the day, he could go to Academy and pick up the rod he needs and be successful with it. Or do you really think it makes that much of a difference in the sensitivity and all that? Is it that?
It's a lot of fish get caught on those lower dollar rods. A lot of fish been caught on an ugly stick, and that ain't going to change.
Jeremiah Giles, $100 is the benchmark for a quality rod.
I think that's
pretty close. Right. That's pretty close. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty accurate. I would agree with that.
And so at $100, it's kind of, we're thinking, okay, that's where it jumps from what we would call moderate quality. We start, from a basic rod into a little more of an upgrade.
Yeah. I think at 100, you start getting into like rods that are where the actions are different enough and predictable enough that you can, at least within one manufacturer.
Top water does matter.
Well, yeah, he does.
You can kind of predict what they're going to do.
All right, so Tim's got a couple interesting comments that I'm reading right now too. So the worst rod he's ever owned was a Dobbins.
That's crazy.
And a lot of guys love Dobbins.
I have 4 of them, man.
So
that's crazy.
That is a subjective comment, and I understand that.
But I think the Falcons are better than Dobbins. But that's just me personally.
And then he goes, more hooks are swallowed on an ugly stick too, meaning I guess because of the action and stuff like that, or the lack of sensitivity.
Yeah,
they get it down in there. So that's where the sensitivity. What is the worst? If you don't, you don't want to drop names. So, if I asked you what the worst rod is that you've ever owned,
that might be that same one I just talked about.
Carrot sticks.
Oh,
carrot sticks. We're bringing up the carrot sticks. I think it's what's comfortable for you, Facebook user. Yes, absolutely. I think that carrot sticks got a really bad rap. They broke easy. I have actually broken a bunch of Lou's tips, a lot of tips on their rods. Not the higher, and I don't buy the most expensive right now. Now listen, the reels I got on my fairy ones are Lou's tournaments. I really like them, so the reels are great, but the tips on Lou's, I broke more of those than any of them. Tim Hancock, I bought an $80 rod from Academy 6.6 for my smaller crankbaits. I love it. Looked around until I found another for a backup. Yeah. And again, maybe sometimes you find a diamond in the rough.
I think there's a question: is what's the easiest technique to buy a rod for?
That's a very good question.
I'd say the crankbait probably might be it.
It's not necessarily.
No. Well, okay. So to you, what's the easiest?
Go for it.
Probably a jig, really.
Really?
Broomstick. If you're if you're fishing heavy cover, I pretty much use a broomstick.
Right. Yeah. You have the
But-
extra heavies and stuff.
Just talking about the $100 rods, I bought a $175 rod for it's a crankbait rod, but I was using it for rattle traps and grass down at Eufaula.
Okay.
And I lost so many dang fish on the practice days. I went and bought, I think it was like an $80 rod.
Right.
I don't know if it was Walmart down there or something like that, and didn't lose a fish. But it's a broomstick instead of
but-
like a typical.
What you would
Crankbait.
think of as a crankbait.
But you think the jig is the easiest to buy a rod for. That's the easiest
For me, yeah.
for you. All right. Let me read a couple of these comments and we'll get to you, Paul. Lose rods and carrot sticks suck. They make great reels, terrible rods, but then you get Justin Spieth. I've yet to break a loose rod. Again, it's your own personal experience. Absolutely. Now, Tim White thinks the easiest one is jerk bait and top water. You just go with a medium action. What about you, Paul? The easiest, answer your own question right there.
I would say that top water, to me, crankbait. I feel like I know what I want in a crankbait rod or a top water rod a little.
What do you
little
want?
better.
What do you want?
A good parabolic bend and some backbone down at the bottom,
Mhm.
some stiffness down at the bottom where you can put the screws to them when it's time.
Gotcha. So
enough bend to let them eat and enough power to get them in.
I got you. It's Jeremiah, 7-foot medium spinning rod. Texas rig is I think stupid simple. Yeah, I mean it is a very simple thing. But now I don't throw my Texas rig on a spin rod. I throw it on a bait caster.
Yeah.
So, again, on just for me personally, and it would be closer to my jig rod. The rod that I use my jig rod for, I would throw a Texas rig.
Very similar. Yeah.
Because I don't throw a lot unless I'm throwing a really ultra
It's the same-
light
it's the
kind
same
of thing.
though. You're talking about where are you fishing and kind of
Exactly.
your applications on linear.
Salmon
you might
beneath
use
this,
that,
yeah.
You might use that spinning rod forever.
Well, that's what
There's
saying.
8 or 10 pound fluoro and
Yeah.
Okay, hey, listen, good question for you from Russ Scholes. Please describe a broomstick, Robbie. Are we talking push broom or with the wide or with the widths? I guess that's what it says. Ride.
pool cue.
Yeah, pull cue.
Something ain't got much give, put it that way.
Which is right. Oh, I got what he's saying.
It's meant for grass.
And Tim White, I'm weird. I throw all my cranks on a medium heavy graphite. That is different.
Yeah.
What about you? The question was while you were gone, what is the simplest technique to buy a rod for you?
For me,
Yeah,
probably top water.
top water, and that's down. We've had top waters been several times answered.
Because I just need one that got some decent backbone to it. But as long as the tip is pretty decent on it and got a little bit of a waggle to it, which helps me walk the bait or whatever it is, then I'm good with it. Because I'll grab a rod sometimes. I'll grab a rod. And it ain't even my dedicated top water rod, and I just tie something on it and throw it.
Let me throw this
But
question.
spinner
in there.
baits is where I get real technical.
Yeah.
You do now. Yeah.
When I get real
What,
technical.
okay,
on
so what do
spinner
you
baits.
throw your spinner baits on?
I throw my spinner baits on a
And we're talking old school spinner bait, blade, no chatter baits.
no
straight
spinner
spinner
bait
bait.
because I don't throw chatterbait that much. I throw more spinner bait, and that's probably one of my go-to baits in the spring and really all year long because
Mhm.
I throw one about every time I go. It's a 610 Castaway skeleton rod. I paid $179 for it. And I had that rod for 6 years, and then I got rid of it and sold it in the yard sale and upgraded to the new generation of the Invicta. And it has a $259 spinnerbait rod. And the reason why I'm very particular about my spinnerbait rod is because I'm throwing it around got different angles. You got tight quarters, and a lot of people they throw. If you're trying to throw a spinnerbait like a mini me, for example, if you're trying to throw a mini me on a 6.5 foot rod and out like far across the point or something like that, you will not get a hook in that fish very good on a 6.5 foot rod. You need something in that between that 6'10" to 7'2" range for throwing spinner baits on long range stuff. But the closer quarters you get, you want a little bit of a shorter rod. And for me, that 610 spinnerbait special on castaway rods is perfect for me because I can use it in close quarters. I can use it long ranging.
Right.
And that's just me.
I was getting to ask you about that comment, but I saw a really good question up there too. We'll get to that, and I'll answer this one first, and then we'll go around. Waggle, yeah. Would you rather have a nice rod or a nice reel, and why? My answer is rod. I might be a little different. I would rather have a quality rod and listen. I think you can get some junk reels. Don't get me wrong. But I think even a medium level reel today is the technology and the way they're built today will still.
I guess
do
the
whatever you
question
want to
is,
do.
are you going dollar for dollar, or
I'll give you my answer for that.
Okay, yeah.
The techniques that I'm going to go to the lake and I'm going to use pretty much every time I go, I spend the money on the reel and the rod.
Reel and the rod, or
reel
reel
and the rod.
So you go all in on both.
Yeah, if it's something that I throw a lot, spinner baits, jigs, crankbaits, I will spend the money on the rod and the reel because it is something that I want to hold up. I don't want to have to worry about my equipment. I don't have to want to worry about anything failing me. Right. As far as any other odd and end bait that you're only going to throw for like a month or two out of the year, and then you're going to take that rod and that reel and might put something else on it later, then I buy $79 to $100 reel and put on there.
Okay.
And it lasts. You don't use it as much, so you don't put as much wear and tear on it.
If you had to choose, though, the question he wants to know, if you had to choose, you only get a choice one, rod or reel?
Reel.
What about you?
Rod.
I think rod too, because I think you can get away with reel.
That might be the fly fisherman in me. Rod.
The rod. Okay. How about this? If you only get to choose one, I'm just going to throw a little curveball in the conversation. If you only get to choose one, rod or reel, spinning or bait caster?
Bait caster.
Spinning, probably.
Yeah. What about you?
Bait caster.
I think I would probably go spinning. Now, here's the question.
Alone.
All of us, why? We'll start with you. Why would you go with the bait caster?
Bait caster, I could throw a jig or whatever, but I could throw a little bitty top water bait with it too.
Okay.
It all depends on how good you are with bait caster.
Okay. So you don't think so? What you think a bait caster is more all around than a spinning reel?
Yeah.
You can tell them more things.
Yep.
Even with lighter stuff, you think you can control it better.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. All right. So I'm the opposite. I think you can throw more things on a spin reel. Might not be proper, but I mean,
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's another thing. I think Yankees throw the Yankee boys up there. They throw the spin rods a lot more than
Maybe.
I do. I think they do.
I think my thing was going to be. I think for me, the spinning rod probably does more of what I do and more
Probably
of
so.
what I like to do.
And I know you because I know the way you fish. You're a power fisherman.
Yeah.
So I said,
Amen.
how much does the line play roll into the feel of the rod? Now, that's a very good question, especially, listen, Justin, shove it. You know why? Because he knows he's a Yankee. he knows he's a Yankee right there.
Man, one little jab about Yankees and he's shoving.
He's
been going in on you all night.
I just ignore
Port
it.
Taco, I throw
Yeah,
everything
like-
on a spinning rod. Port Taco can even do trick shots with spinning rods. Take that old whopper plopper. It's like
I saw that.
backwards.
What's up, Tatum? Right there. I appreciate all the guys
Tatum.
throwing the whopper plopper and tagging me in your videos.
All of
I
God's
think-
fish.
All God's fishermen
All
are
of
they're,
God's
yeah,
children are
power fishermen. Listen to that. There you go. With the reprobates.
Uh-oh.
With the reprobates. But now I tell you what, the bait caster is superior. You can throw spinning techniques on a smaller bait caster, like a 50 or 70 size. Okay, but here's the thing. I'm not giving you a bunch of different size options. I'm giving you one to do everything. So you get one bait caster to do all techniques, one spin rod or spin reel to do all techniques. I don't know that the spinning rod or the spin reel is not more that you can't do more with it in the wind.
You can.
I think you can do more all around things. Go scroll. We got some comments. Let's see.
I think that could be that's an angler thing too. I think some guys are just more comfortable one way or the other. You prefer what you do more.
Right, I got
You
you.
prefer what you're more confident.
But let's get back to the line question. Now, I think again, now we're getting into the braid question when we're getting the finesse technique stuff like that. But how much does line play with the sensitivity of a rod? Ryan, I'll let you answer that one first.
Well, I mean, braid's already as sensitive as you can get.
Right.
I think more or less it goes more into the lines of
listen to Tyler Minutes. Finesse fisherman P sitting down.
Man,
Wow.
shots fired.
They're
love
just going across the bow. Sitting down. That's okay. All right. So Pork Taco has a Yankee wife, and I don't use a spinning reel, which is interesting. Okay, she's Yankee, and he's not, but he uses a spinning reel. So there you go, a little family conflict going right there. I don't know. I think they make it work. It seems like they make
Matt,
it
if
work.
She throws a bait caster and you don't. I've got questions.
if you don't skip,
You know what though? This is
if you
interesting.
don't skip docks with a bait caster.
Listen, and since Tatum is watching, we had I tried to take her fishing over at Latham, and the spinning reel she blew up. She blew up all my spinning reels and all that, but she could throw a bait caster. She really could throw the bait caster. She could throw a spinner bait. She could throw a chatterbait, just good enough as any guy I fish with it, with except, you know what I'm saying. But she could make the cast long enough to actually make a realistic cast and reel it in. You put a spinning rod in the hand, and oh my goodness, we got one of the worst arguments we've ever got into. But it was because I don't know. I would think that it would be easier, but maybe again, it's back to the person
I
using
think the timing on your release when you're casting with a spinning reel. Not everybody is like great at that.
Who can skip docks with a spinning rig?
I can. I hate it.
I can.
I can.
I can tell you, Jonathan Farmer can do them with both. It don't matter. He can do that. He's very good at both. But I will say also too, to me, that depends on what you're throwing. You're throwing a weightless Cinco.
Yeah.
I think it's easier with
It's
spinning.
way easier when a punk like me doesn't have to worry about blowing a reel up.
That's the thing. Now that's the thing. Now I backlashed so many times when I was trying to learn it with a bait caster. So, and there's no docks on Carter's, Daniel Duckett right there. So true.
There's Marina.
There's a marine. Okay, so I can do it with a spinning, not bait casters though. I think it takes a lot of practice, and I also think
But
it takes
shape
the
of your
rod.
bait matters a lot more when you're trying to do it with a bait caster.
Have you ever seen any? Listen, could you skip a scrounger right now if you had to try it? A scrounger.
Poorly.
A scrounger. You ever throw a scrounger?
Yeah.
How much skip do you want?
I honestly, goodness, and he's not watching tonight, so I can brag on him without. He's in Florida, but I watched a farmer skip a scrounger. I'm telling you, that thing went 25 feet up a dock from the end all the way up the walkway through tight quarters. I didn't think a scrounger, given that big old,
That lead head.
that lead head in the plastic right there, would catch. But he skips chatter. You get them guys skipping the chatterbaits, all kinds of stuff. It's easy, not easy to skip a jig.
Shape of the trailer makes a huge difference with a jig or a chatterbait.
I got you.
I learned that the hard way.
If I have a $50 rod and a $300 rod spooled up with braid, are you going to be able to tell a difference? Very good
When
question.
you set the hook,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think he laid the question out as far as sensitivity. So is the
But see, the
sensitivity
braid,
in the
you
braid,
already
or is
have
it
the
in
ultimate sensitivity with braid. Really, where you're wanting to start getting into that fine line with braid and fluorocarbon, where you're wanting a rod that you're going to throw a lot of braid on, is where you want to start getting into the titanium guides, because the zirconium guides, they will eventually wear down.
Quickly.
Yeah, with the braid.
With the
running
braid.
along
With the
there.
braid. Yeah.
If you ever get on Instagram or watch professional fishing when they're in them grass mats, that's when they're squealing them damn things. I mean,
Trust
but
Ryan,
but that's
face.
but when you hear that squeal, that's they're using a rod with titanium guides,
It sounds like that whole rod.
and it
Yeah.
sounds
It
like the
does, it
rod
does,
is
it
going to
does.
explode.
Absolutely, I know exactly.
But the rod is nowhere near going to explode. But that's when you get to that aspect, because the line is directly connected to your bait, which is connected to your fish. So in terms of $50 to $300, if you're just running around, jacking around, fishing like that, where you're not doing something technique specific, I'm going to say no. But if you are doing something technique specific, then yes, the rod with the braid matters.
I got an old All-Star rod, I don't know, it might be longer than 7 foot, but I got it using the braid.
Yeah.
So I won't mess up my good stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's the old rod, it's old school, it's 20-something years old and kind of sensitive, but.
The one with the blue hat. I got you. Hey, Phil Jeopardy answer. Who is Paul Coonan? There you go. There you go. But I tell you what, but it is a good question. That how much of a difference if you've got, let's just say you've got the same Daiwa reel, the same braid, and one's on that $300 rod and one's on that $50 rod. How much of a difference in the sensitivity?
Not much, because you still got braid.
Because of the braid. So braid is a game changer on a cheaper rod.
Closes the gap.
It closes the gap significantly.
So then you would recommend to a guy that, let's just say, of course, braid's not cheap, but let's just say you could recommend to a guy that don't want to spend a lot of money into a rod. Hey, listen, get this rod, but use a more quality line, like a braided line and reel, and you'll close the gap. That's what you're saying.
But do you use straight braid to mono or tie braid all the way to the lure?
I try braid. When I'm doing that, I tie braid straight to the lure. I don't deal with leaders.
I do 20 pound per leader.
I don't deal with it.
So you do tie braid to, in what instance would you tie braid to mono? Because you always I hear
Braid to
braid
mono?
to yeah, I thought that's what you said. Didn't you say braid to mono? Okay, so that's interesting.
When
to
do
me.
you do braid to mono?
That's what I'm asking. That's why
I'm curious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It perked
Because
my ears.
you've got no stretch with enough with a lot of stretch. So it's
Yeah.
It's like
That's-
a shock leader.
yeah.
It is. So why would you do that? And I
How
know
would
you
you
got
say
your reason, but I mean,
And he's
So
old
you're-
school, so this is with
yeah.
all respect. That's why I'm
I
wanting
just
to
started using
hear.
braid 2 years ago.
you just can't get out of the mono thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just 2 years ago.
But fished Oconee for years. I'd throw 20, 25 pound test, big game. Caught a lot of fish, won a little money.
I do like the big game. I'm actually becoming. I know
There's
that
nothing
is.
wrong with big game.
I've actually become like a convert to the big game. I know that. Listen, I used to think, look at that green stuff. I mean, you can pull a boat with that stuff on.
Mm,
He
I've
has
honestly-
fast reflexes.
Yes,
It's not about the reflexes there.
but
It's
the braid, I like punching vegetation.
okay.
That's the only reason I use it.
Get on some of them
for
nuts.
vegetation.
Yeah.
So,
Not wood.
but not wood, just vegetation. That's your braid game.
Fluorocarbon.
Okay, all right. That
If you've never jacked one out of a grass mat on Eufaula
Exactly.
with braid,
Where?
You follow.
phallus. I don't know where the hell Eufaula is, but
Eufaula, whatever you want to call it. If you've never done that
right.
and you go do that, you'll be addicted
Mhm.
I've changed all my line to FC
because you
That's
wear into
more.
one and you have like this split second of feeling the weight of the fish, and then it's grass and you don't know what you have underneath there.
But same lake, you can catch 12 pounds doing that. Most of the time, you can use a medium crankbait, hit some rock piles on that lake that I fished back in the day, and catch 20-something pounds, and catch over 50 to 100 fish off these 2 rock piles.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that. I was just talking about in general. If you ain't
Well,
never,
okay.
if you ain't never took an ounce and a quarter
Sweet.
weight and flip it in a grass
They're
mat,
sweet.
and you pick that thing up and
Good
you let it go
difference.
back down, and you pick that thing up again, and it don't hit the bottom, and you rear back.
Use
God.
Sunline nylon instead of big game.
Nah.
Nah, I'm good on that sunline.
Dang.
Well, I mean, listen.
Tough room for
Listen,
someone.
it is a tough room tonight. I did
despise
not. I was
Sunline.
listening. All I'm gonna say is, I've just become a convert,
Steve's
a
nuts.
convert to in some situations to the big game. Now, let me ask you this: if any of you guys were watching the National Professional Fishing League today. I was watching, trying to keep up with Jesse today. He had a little bit of a tougher day than he had hoped for, but still, nonetheless, if you're
We still
watching
love
any
him.
of it, absolutely. Yeah, listen. Yeah, I mean that's professional fishing. So and he can make a hell of a comeback. But there's some guys. He'd never been to Harris Chain.
Not alert.
Not alert. So let me ask you this: there was a lot of grass down there. A lot of guys were throwing swim jigs into that grass, but it was almost to where it almost looked like they were trying to punch at the same time. They were doing a little bit. I mean, it was just different levels of grass, or it was weird. Now you throw them braid in that, and you get to a little bit lighter area of grass where you can swim something through. You still using that same setup that you got right there, the braid to the mono or what?
I use big game.
So then you go to the big game.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you? Do you fish grass a lot? Have you ever
I
fished?
never fished grass river.
I mean, seriously.
Go to Wise.
Well,
Okay.
or you can go. I tell you what,
Field trip.
that's right. Or you can go to that under the culvert at Hickory Log and punch some of them lily pads they got over there now that are growing. So you can try that.
That's a different game.
Is it? Yeah.
You can
So
That's what makes
you
me
can
love
get
it.
away with fluorocarbon in lily pads.
and why is that?
Well, lily pads just aren't unless it's a thick field of lily pads.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
But about like scattered lily pads, like you can get away with fluorocarbon.
He's talking about like matted grass, like
Yeah.
hydrilla or
I was talking
Right.
about, that's what I was talking about.
You're talking about pulling 5 pounds of grass off to see the fish underneath.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I don't
there's
always
nothing
use
like
braid,
it.
but when I do, I
That's
do
an adrenaline
65-pound
rush.
test and break off on a 12.
You need to work on. You need to work on your knot.
What is too? Let me ask you this: what is too big a braid? What is? I mean, at what point do you? Okay, can you get away with a lighter test? Lighter diameter. What point is it just not? At that point, you're just using rope. For any of you guys that use braid,
Well, 65 pound, it is rope.
it is rope. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'd say 65 is pretty serious.
I mean, I got 20-pound braid.
I mean, I don't really throw
You
my
go up. I mean, you're higher.
Oh, yeah.
What are you throwing?
Swim bait rods, 65-pound Power Pro.
Okay, now let me rephrase that. So I mean, I'm throwing that on my finesse. So 20 is on my finesse. So
I was straight floor.
You just straight-
finesse rods.
Yeah.
You don't
Really?
use any
I
kind
don't
of other
use
line.
braid.
I've got a couple that are like 20-pound braid deleter.
Oh.
No.
I used to do that, and listen, I actually have thought about in recent because I don't trust my knots, and we've talked about the Alberto and all that stuff. I just don't trust my knots. So I was all 4-row.
You need to practice more.
YouTube.
Listen, I ain't got no time. I'm trying to sell motors up here all day. I don't get to fish. So seriously, I like
I don't get to
10-pound
fish
braid
as much as I
deleter.
want to.
I don't get to fish at all.
So what is that? All the time?
Pretty
Listen,
much.
does anybody here still use the good old strand in any shape, form, or fashion? Is it so out of style
That's
now to
big
use
game, isn't
strand?
No,
No, I
Oh God, no.
Berkeley, big game's
No.
Berkeley.
Big game.
Does anybody use strand anymore?
What's Stren's stout line?
I don't know, but
big
listen,
game.
listen. I remember back in the day though, throwing
20 pound.
listen, getting on a farm
It's
pond.
all big game.
You're throwing the old Texas rig, and you've got that blue fluorescent blue strand that's set on the water, and you watch that line come in, go out, come in, go out,
Yeah.
and you could see the bites like that. And caught a hell of a lot of fish doing that. Is it so out of vogue though now to say, hey, I fish with 12-pound strand and it's almost like embarrassing to say it because everybody's saying, you read the commentary. Well, I got this, and all the lines look like a chemical component of stuff. All these fancy names. What's wrong with just good old strand?
When I first started fishing tournaments up there at the blockhouse, and I forgot the other place where we actually first started,
Right?
but I used strand and
I ran over my
did my knots proper. And
That's what you get.
when they broke, that's when I
I don't
quit.
even know for what.
When your knots broke.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd fish strand, but never tell anyone. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. Is it kind of like the ugly sister? But is strand that bad? I've caught a ton of fish.
I'll defend Stren. I think for someone that just wants to go fishing and have fun and catch a few fish, there is zero wrong with it.
Yeah.
Right.
But like we talk about a lot, there's products out there that's meant to catch fishermen, and there's a lot of money spent to influence people.
Ugly
to-
sisters need love too. That's right. That's right. Just make sure they
There's-
cook.
Yeah, there's a lot of money spent to influence people to, can't catch a bass without, straight fluoro that's $30 a spool. You can't catch a bass without, $40 braid and a double family grunzel knot to,
Right.
Gold Seagar. And it's just,
You don't use
and that's not to come down on Seagar, but
no, never growing up.
we complicated a lot.
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
Cajun line.
Cajun line.
red.
Cajun line. Okay, so let me ask you this.
Cajun red was all the rage there.
I watched my dad catch a 6-pounder on Yahoo with 10-pound Cajun line on a wacky worm.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's my point.
He literally went and bought that thing off the Walmart shelf to go fishing with me.
And he caught the big fish.
And
that
he
day.
caught the big fish that day on 10-pound Cajun line on a
So-
Zebby Co 33 with a 6-foot medium action that was more like medium
All right.
light rod.
Tim White just hit it right there. That is my teenage years right there. Blue string, true turn hooks, and a red's curly tail worm. Old
There
school.
you go.
And that's what I'm saying. Listen, I'm going to end up blocking Justin.
But this gets back into the
I think I'm
whole
gonna
hobby thing, though, where we're indulged
Them
into a
Yankees
hobby.
they can't stop,
Yeah.
can they? It's a Yankee thing.
Oh,
So
gosh.
anyway, but seriously, here's the thing: is that how many fish has been caught on string that just seriously pistol grip rods, perfect, absolutely like that. So I mean, we've all done it back in Cajun. If you can catch them. If you can catch them on that, is it necessary to go through and go back and look at all these daggum fancy names for all these lines and all the guys are throwing?
A 270 joke. Michael Temples, you and me are in the same Facebook groups. I guarantee it.
I didn't see that. It's like shooting a deer with a 270. That's true, but the biggest deer that I got sitting on my wall of my house, I shot with my father-in-law's 270. It did take 2 shots, but I did drop him. So, it is what it is. Pistol grip, 6-foot rods, and those old bait casters that look
Hey,
like
Robbie, them old
typewriters.
dial was it when you backlashed, you had to open it up like
Oh
that.
God. Oh
Click.
Lord.
You fold it back down.
So let me ask you this. By the way, Blake is at home with his son, Justin. He's not in jail. If you'd have been here at the beginning, you'd have heard that. So anyway, so let me ask you this. What is the first bait caster you ever got? Do you still remember the very first bait caster you ever threw?
Yes.
What was it?
It was a quantum iron. It was one of them old round ones.
Quantum iron.
Yes.
Never heard of that.
It is
What about
one,
you?
It's like an ambassador.
First one I ever threw.
Yeah, or owned.
First one I owned was a graduation present. I had no idea how good of a reel it was. It was a Shimano Calais.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The first one I ever threw was one of my dad's. It was an old like 80s Bantam.
Okay.
It was a Speedmaster, I think it was like a 5.8 or almost a 6 to 1.
Ma'am, how old are you?
He's young. He's young.
Murdered
He's
a lot
young.
of fish
No,
on
you
that
and him
rod
are
and
young.
reel.
You and him are young though. Y'all the young ones in here. What about you? I mean, you got those old silver Shakespeares with the ivory handles. We're talking that. You ain't that old,
No,
are you?
I ain't that old, but I think it's one of the first Shimano's, but I got an old Ambassador green, small green reel. I
Yeah.
still got both of them.
Do you really?
Oh God, yes.
Mine was a Ryobi. Did you know they used to make?
My dad had a Ryobi spinning reel.
Right, I had a Ryobi bait caster, and it looked to be like a knockoff on. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Zepco Quantum? Or you got a picture? You pulled it up. It looked to be like a knockoff of some luge. You remember
It's
the
like an
luge that's got the
Ambassador.
leather looking sides and all that?
Yeah.
The whatever those are called. Tim brought us
the
a few down there.
classic like BB.
Yes,
BB
those older ones, and that's what I think.
They're awesome looking.
Look, the
They look like a
Ryobi was a knockoff on that. I still. All right, what's the first? The most, or not the most? What is the first upgraded rod you ever bought? Okay, we all grew up with the Zepco 33 stuff like that when you're little. The very first. Oh my gosh, I've arrived. I got an actual, graphite rod or whatever.
7-foot medium heavy Okuma EVX graphite Gen 1.
Oh my God, kid!
Oh,
You
what,
can
that's
tell.
an
I mean,
alphabet
seriously,
soup right there.
what a millennial!
I paid $79.99 for that rod, and I thought I was the shit.
Well, there you go. What about you, Paul?
You know, the first one, now it's fairly recent that I bought it. It was a 6'9" medium light fast Fenwick HMG.
Ooh,
I
Okay.
wanted a
Listen,
bespoke drop shot rod. For
when you say Fenwick, that brings out the snob in you right there. So we know. He's this fishing snob right there. What about you? First one you ever bought, you're like, oh my goodness.
It was a all-star Carolina rig rod because back in the day, Carolina rig was the way to catch fish.
I got you. Do you guys
It still
remember?
is.
And I know these guys won't. They might. You might have seen one.
now.
You might have seen one. Bass Pro Shop used to have what they called a mean green stick. Now, the original mean green sticks were about the size of a quarter, right above the handle, and they tapered the whole way. You know, it was my first graphite rod that I ever owned. Have you ever seen one of those that style? Now they're thin all the way through, but this one honestly was about the size of a quarter as it came off the grip and just tapered slowly. It was called a mean green
It's been a
stick.
minute.
Huh?
I've been a minute.
It has been a minute.
I've got one at the house. I'll have to bring. I think it's a old Shimano like boron composite, and it's that cone with the
It is-
pistol grip.
that's what I'm saying.
Probably 5'6".
Exactly, yeah, exactly like that. But I remember my cousin had it, and you know, my dad, bless his heart, rest his soul, was a Zebco 33 2-piece man, and that's what I grew up fishing. We didn't have bait casters and stuff like that. My grandfather had some of the old ambassadors for catfishing and that kind of stuff, but that was the first one I ever had. I can remember just thinking, yeah, like you said, I'm the shit. I have finally arrived because I had a Bass Pro Shops mean green stick. Broke it about 2 or 3 months later, but that was my first one. But I probably still caught more fish in my lifetime, purposely or unpurposely, on a 2-piece Zebco 33 rod, because we grew up farm pond fishing and stuff like that. That was the way to do it back in the day. You remember them days?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I know you
forgot
and I
how to
are
throw
older than
one of
everybody
those.
here. We
Yeah.
got these young guys.
I forgot how to throw one of those.
What's
Zebco
that?
A
33?
Zebco 33.
Yeah, press the button.
But it like,
Youngins.
Listen. You press the button. But now I tell you what, and I gave it to my real repair guy. I had a couple of the old oh good grief, the green. You could throw them a mile, cast them a country mile.
God, dog it.
Not Mitchell's.
I mean, there was one called a Country Mile.
Yeah, but it's not a. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
know what you're
What
talking
is that?
I
Is it a
can't-
Mitchell?
I think it is.
Might have been a
Mitchell.
Mitchell. These were made in the '60s, and I had 2 of them, and I bought them off eBay because I don't know why. I just thought they were the neatest. But you honestly can throw them 350
Yeah.
yards. Now you can't reel a fish in bigger than a half-pound brim with them, because they're just. But those you just press that button and just. It was perfect. So, but anyway, so you didn't grow up fishing with those.
mm-mm. I had an ultralight spinning rod. Ugly.
You grew
stick.
up spinning with spinning rod.
Yeah, a little ultralight spinning rod. I got kicked out of school with it one time.
It sounded like
Okay,
me.
that's the story right now. You got kicked out of school with a.
They said that the little bitty trout hook on the back of it would hurt somebody, and they gave me a OSS
You got suspended.
because it was in the back of my truck.
That's soft.
That's for South County too, right?
That's
Lumpkin
10
County.
ply.
Lumpkin
That's 10
County.
ply, bud.
Really?
I swear, God's honest truth.
You got suspended for a
For a
hook,
whole week, they told me that I couldn't have. There was a weapon.
a fishing rod with a hook in it.
I'm talking about a trout hook now. One you put a little bit of mess of power bait on the end of it, on a little bitty 5'4"
Johnson. That's what it is.
Johnson.
It's a Johnson had the country mile.
There's
That's
a little
what I got.
5'4" ultralight rod spinning.
Right.
rod. Ugly stick.
I got you.
Somebody said
got
something
you.
about pistol grips. Do they still make them?
I imagine
You
get 'em
can
at
build
Walmart.
your own pistol grip,
You
brother.
gotta be able to get one somewhere.
Yeah, you got to.
I wouldn't mind to have one for spinner baits.
You would throw a spinnerbait on a pistol grip.
Yeah.
Why?
Pistol grip. Robbie,
Back in the day,
Back in the day. Listen,
in the
when
day.
your story starts with back in the day.
but
All right, here we go.
Here.
Back in the day.
fishing around trees and stuff like that, docks, really, you can, with a pistol grip, you can put it in about anywhere you want to.
So again, is the pistol grip like string line? Is it just the ugly sister of the?
Mm.
Mhm.
And why do people not use them anymore?
have no idea.
I know a few people who still actually have them.
Why do
Jerry Seabolt has 3 of them that he literally fishes all the time with them.
I'd throw a rooster tail on a pistol grip all day long. Yeah. But that is something. Okay, but why, technically speaking, what is wrong with a pistol grip as far as, is it the feel? Is it what is technically, as a rod manufacturer, they're like, we could do better, and why?
Well, you can set the butt of the rod right in here on your forearm when you set the hook. And pistol grip, it's all right here in the wrist.
And your wrist gets sore if you catch a fish too.
Yeah, because you're like, God almighty.
Paul, have you ever thrown a pistol grip rod?
I have. My first rod was a pistol grip.
Your first rod was a pistol
man.
grip.
Was it a pin?
It was a red South Bend
Ooh, that's
with
old.
a Zebco 33.
I
I think that's still in the house somewhere.
You still have it. Influence
I don't-
changed the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he says, I have a pocket fisherman.
Pocket fisherman.
The pocket fisherman. There you
Heck
go.
yeah.
That's right. Now Jeremiah brings something up at the end of his thing. The original floating Rapala. I probably caught more bass on one of those growing up than I did anything as far as artificials.
Caught a lot of fish on a
Okay, so
Yep.
we
number
you know,
7 floating wrap.
Okay, so here we'll we got a little bit of time left, and we can we've talked about rods a lot, but if a floating Rapala was so effective, and it always has been, you've always been able to catch fish on that, why are we throwing other things?
Other things catch your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Floating Rapala only covers so much of the water column.
Yeah.
Okay, but they do make a sinker, and I mean, but I'm talking that basic. So floating Rapala, yes, but that basic fish design, the silver and the silver and the black, the gold and the. I mean,
what is a mega bass or a Spro or anything? I mean, they're different, but they're not that different. That profile and that
Right.
wobble,
right?
I mean, you make them do different things. You
Yeah.
change the components, you suspend, you put a fancy paint job on it.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's the granddaddy of them all.
Yep.
You know,
It is, but why do pros not throw them anymore when they throw top water? You never, if you watch a pro tournament or something like that, you never got a guy who's got the old floating Rapala throwing it out there. But we all know it's pretty effective. Tough day. Go to a floating Rapala
Yeah.
back in the day.
but you know what's coming back here recently? I see the prop bait, like the
Yes,
old
the
fashioned
old-fashioned prop
devil's
bait.
horse style prop bait is starting to.
You don't throw those?
Never went away. Yeah.
Oh,
No, don't
never
call it
went
a
away.
comeback.
Oh, don't call it a comeback. Okay. But like the old jitterbugs and stuff like that. If they were,
I don't know why they quit making jitterbugs.
But don't they
Well,
still?
didn't jitterbugs come back too?
They do. Yeah.
Jack
they,
all made
you
that
can, you
goofy
can get them in the
pompadour
little fight. You
thing,
can
and
get
there
them in the
was-
That's a
little.
pompadour.
Oh, the
That
pompadour's a pompadour.
That thing walks and swims.
But you can still get them. Like if you go to Walmart, they got the little cheap pack that's got the jitterbug and the popper and all that. So
Yeah, but
If it ain't a green frog hula popper, I don't want it.
there you go. Color specific. I mean, listen. I mean, Robbie, you're like 180. So
Feel that.
what I know you and I both feel like. But seriously, did you grow up fishing stuff like? I mean, the old hula poppers, stuff like that.
Mainly Rapalas.
Mainly Rapalas. Okay, I got you. Why do you think they've fallen out of fashion?
Well, you got like mega bass, it suspends, stuff like that. Pretty much, it's you can catch the fish suspended a lot better with
So Rapala
Other
doesn't
things.
make
none of I know of.
but they do make jerk. I mean, they do make suspended jerk baits. They're just different, but they're not in that.
They're
Science
not the
say fish
original.
have a memory. There you go. Well, that might be. I guess I don't know. I never asked one of them. Loose speed stick pistol grip 6 foot heavy brush. Just sold mine for $20.
$20 is $20.
$20, man. Hey, listen, you got to play that game right there. So suspend strips and dots. Yeah, that's the way you can do that.
There you go. That's
Um,
Storm. That's the original Rogue.
Yeah, there you go. If
I
Go for it.
maybe this has a little bit to do with like why things have went away. A lot of it really and truly, and I've been told this, the big time tournament anglers, the hookup ratios
okay,
gravitated towards hookup ratios with stuff that you definitely can get a hook in a fish more times than not. That's one of the reasons why you don't always see. I mean, when's the last time you seen a tournament one on a super spook, like at the elite level.
I can't think of one.
Exactly, because
wasn't there one guy that up at Gunnersville caught him on top and won the whole thing?
yeah, that was one day, not on through the entire event. I mean, that's kind of like why like swim jigs and stuff like that have become real popular. And chatterbaits, because as a single hook, you're putting pressure on one point, and the hookup ratio is a whole lot better.
Right.
And when you got a mouthful of treble hooks, we've all seen it. When you got a bait with 6 treble hooks hanging off of it or whatever you want, however many is on one, the hookup ratio, you think, there ain't no way that you can't get a hook in the fish. But all of us sitting here know we've had some explode on topwater lures and eat jerk baits and crankbaits and stuff, and they just pull off. The hookup ratio with treble hooks is not as good as it is with a single point hook. And that's one of the things that's influenced getting away from certain things has been, it's more popular to throw single point hook style baits when you're in a high, none of us fish for $100,000.
Right.
But if you put yourself in their shoes, you probably can understand and see why they say, I'd rather have something that over 4 days or 3 days is going to catch me either 15 or 20 bass, rather than, well, I had 30 on, but I only caught 15 of them.
I got you. Okay, I'm following you.
So
give it on that thing right there. Daniel Duckett's question is pretty good. Do you guys just fish a lure straight from the box?
I don't.
Less and less.
Changing hooks.
Yeah.
Always changing hooks.
Always changing hooks.
Like mega bass and some of them you don't really have to, but Spro you don't really have to if you don't want to, but you can. But like if I buy Strike King crankbait,
Strike King's automatic change.
Automatic change.
And you take it from their hooks to what kind of hooks?
Gamakatsus.
What about you, Paul?
I'd probably about the same for me.
I fish good Japanese lures straight out of the box.
Well, that's different because the Japanese we gotta have the best of the best.
He mentioned Ryan mentioned Spro. I mean, Spros come with Gamas already.
Yeah,
you might still want to change
because Spro and Gamakatsu kind of together,
right?
I found that some of my visions, like after a few fish, those hooks aren't as sticky as they once were.
I got you. Blake does use 6 cents. He's big on 6 cents hooks and stuff like that. Bass fishing is just like deer hunting or anything else. It's to sell products. Look at the butt out tool for deer hunting. Yeah, it's to catch. Yeah, if y'all know what a butt out tool is, okay. Well, it's when you're gutting a deer. Oh. You basically take this orange piece of plastic and you ram it right up the butt, and basically you give it a twist, and you pull it out. And it's supposed to make it to where you can tie it off clean without getting poop everywhere when you gut a deer. However, if you know how to do it, that's never an issue anyway. But whoever come up with that sold a bunch of them. And I get it. Fishing is like that. So there's a lot of things that come in, and I kind of watch as people come in the shop. I see what they gravitate towards. Sometimes the shiny stuff is what catches their eyes. You put a little bit of foil on something, I'm not saying it don't work fishing, but you just can kind of tell, you kind of get a judge of people's actions and stuff. Just watch it. Same thing, like I said, when they come in, we started off earlier talking about rods, and they're going to bend that rod. And you just kind of watch what they do. It seems like there's certain things that are just automatically ingrained into guys' heads that they're supposed to do.
There's nothing sexy about a green pumpkin.
That's exactly what I was getting to say. Yes, but we know.
But it catches fish.
Exactly.
It does catch fish.
And it'll catch fish whether you're in the front of the boat or the back of the boat, or somebody's throwing something totally different.
It does. But how many times have we seen a guy come in and I've seen them because we do sell some worms up there. They got some wild colors. Some of the companies put out some really wild colors, and they're going to buy them. It just catches their eye, and they got to have it. I mean, it's like, what's more effective long term? Is a morning dawn pink color more effective than a green pumpkin at putting numbers in the boat? But if you hear people talk about it, you'll hear them talk about morning dawn more often. Everybody's got green pumpkin.
Confidence has a lot to do with it.
It's sexier to say morning dawn than it is green pumpkin. You know what I'm saying? Guys,
I think-
just watch what they buy.
I think we talked earlier about overcomplicating things.
Mm-hmm.
It's stuff like that, like Morning Dawn and some of the other like crazy colors are much more situational.
Yes.
Like methylate and bubble gum.
Or flame red crankbaits for 4 weeks in the spring, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people get hung up on that and some of those 365 day a year color like green pumpkin. But I want to maximize my catch in cloudy weather when it's flat out and the moon's half up and it's a minor feeding period on a 2-star day according to Channel 5. I need Morning Dawn with a chartreuse tail and
Yes,
green.
and that's you're 100% right. And Adam W. Fish and at times Morning Dawn is better. It is, but I think again, it's sometimes guys. It's like Stren. Guys don't want to be seen with the green pumpkin in their hands. You know, they everybody fishes them. You know, it's almost like kissing your cousin to have a bunch. You know, guys.
Nobody
you don't want to get caught kissing your cousin.
Nobody wants to. You say nobody wants to be caught with green pumpkin in your hand unless they've got 18, 19, 20 pound bag of spots in the middle
I
of the
agree.
winter. They're like, yum danger green pumpkin.
Like 20 years ago on Lake Lanier, icicle was a color.
Yeah. Hey, hush.
Icicle's still a color. Yeah,
I still have some of those. I still have about 4 or 5 packs of those. Hey, quit.
but that's the thing, and it goes with the rods. It goes to the whole conversation today, whether it's rods, lines, lures, whatever. A lot. I mean, is it really? You know, you can equate color to quality, stuff like that. But sometimes do overthink it a little bit and go too much to the extreme, thinking I've got to have this. When the reality is, you probably could go. Every one of us could go right now to Walmart. You know, buy a $50 cherry wood or something like cheap rod, black max reel, throw some string on it, and get a green pumpkin worm. We probably go catch fish, and probably might have some days that are better than when we try all the fancy stuff.
I won't argue that, but it goes back to what I said earlier in the show. Fishing is a hobby, just like hunting and anything else. And the more deeper you go down the rabbit hole, the more and more you're wanting to do upgrade and do different stuff.
Okay.
And you're wanting to buy other stuff.
Eric Payne, trying different lures is fun and part of why I enjoy fishing. Well, there you go. It pretty much kind of sums up a little bit too. He's just in those rabbit holes like that.
Yeah. And then you look at your, 18 boxes worth of stuff and 20 pounds worth of plastic and realize that you threw green pumpkin all day and you smashed them.
That is that's true. We could have a whole episode of what have you thrown out of your boat lately? And every one of us goes to a boat and eventually you start pulling out the worms and stuff like that have been sitting there for 3.5 years. They're half melted, half faded, and they're all these funky colors, but you've gone through however many packs of green pumpkin, now the line's a little bit different, so we can try that. But that's a whole other thing.
You want to be prepared, especially like tournament guys. I think I find this just kind of as I've gotten into tournament fishing, like you start to buy because you get into your head about it. You're, I need to cover this situation. Oh, I need to cover this situation. Oh, what if this happens? Now I need to buy, and you get out there, and none of that stuff ever happens. And
right. I got you. I got you.
You fish your confidence or you figure out whatever you're going to figure out. And you've got all that stuff that you accumulated for a situation that didn't occur.
I got you.
And the bottom line is after everything in terms of lures and colors, at the end of the day, only thing we can do is the only thing we can do is find something and throw something that will make the fish react. Because that's the only thing fish do. Fish swim, eat, and react to their environment. They don't do anything else.
I got you.
That's all they do.
It makes perfect.
I thought you was going full Jaws on this.
Yeah, I thought he was going, but he simplified it.
Eat, make little fish.
Well, I mean, that's part of the natural life cycle, but
that is so.
But that kind of goes into react to their environment.
I got you. So real quick before we end it, Robbie, let's circle back to the rods. One bit of advice for somebody out there who's looking to make an upgrade what would you get? What advice would you give them? Just so that they're down here, they want to upgrade. What should they look for in your opinion?
The FX rods, they're very good quality rods. Loomis is very good quality. But if you want to take a first step, you can get some of these FX. How much is the
Well, they're in the 170, 180 range and all that. But I'm just talking about, like, what would you tell them to look for? I mean, what, like, a specific thing, if you could, like, is it sensitivity? Is it quality? Is it guides? I mean, so what do you want to do?
pretty much sensitivity? This for worm fishing, crankbait fishing, spinnerbait fishing. If you can't feel the blades turning on your spinnerbait,
That's interesting, because that's something you don't hear a lot of people
Exactly,
talk about. Is actually being able to feel the blade. It's very frustrating on a chatterbait when you can't feel it if they don't come out right.
How many times have you caught a fish under the jaw when you felt the spinnerbaits, the blade stop?
Plenty.
What does that tell you?
I got you.
They're grabbing that blade instead of the main part of the.
Right.
That's
And what do big largemouth do when they get a spinnerbait in shallow water?
Mm.
There is no bite to it. You do not know it is there until you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And
all.
engulf the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean,
That's why I said go to
your
the
line's
side.
coming this
Yeah.
way, and all of a sudden it
Yeah.
kind of goes whoop like that, and then you're like, oh, but you never feel it.
You know what? I think I'm not even going to ban Justin. I'm going to kick him off the group too. Second that this episode's over with. So I'm going to do that. So bye, Justin. It'll be nice knowing you. With
Savage.
that, it's savage. I don't throw in jail. I kick you off the boat,
Off the island.
off the island. You're off the island. So anyway, I guess until what we're going to talk about next Thursday.
Well, I won't be here.
That's right. You're going to the beach, ain't you?
No,
Where you going to
we
be?
got a meeting.
Who's got a meeting?
East Hall.
Oh, the Bass Club.
Yeah,
How's East Hall?
we
these
gotta
days?
make sure we don't go to Oconee and the same weekend
I
of
got
BFL again.
I got you.
So,
So Paul, you and I get to come up with something for next week. What are we going to talk about next week?
I don't know.
We'll think of something.
I know we will.
I
You
might.
guys.
We
I
still
might
need to
can
get
make
Farm and Tank and do that update on the mountain lakes.
Then that's what we'll
yeah,
do
that's
next
what
week.
you
I
need to
think
do
that'd be
next
a lot of
week.
fun.
We will
I
do.
think
We
that
will
would
do
be
a.
cool.
We will do a mountain lake
That would be
episode
cool.
next week. So, again, Robbie, I appreciate you. You
Yes,
brought
sir.
some stuff up, and I said be on the show. You jumped in like a trooper, and we appreciate it. It's not that hard, is it?
At first, it kind of got you had to get used to
You
it.
got to get used to the microphone.
Get the butterflies away from you.
I got you. That's
There you
right.
go.
That's right.
He's like a rainbow in the dark.
That's right.
I don't know about all that.
Right there. So, Paul, appreciate what you're doing, jumping in. Ryan, as always. And guys, again, if you're interested in this Etowah event that's happening at the end of August and you want to be a part of it, let me know. And, I'll give you some more details as they come about. And in the meantime, you guys, for the next couple of days, y'all kind of watch that National Professional Fishing League and kind of watch Jesse and the guys. And as they jump on, and again, we like to thank all our sponsors. Paul's going through and hitting all stuff, especially FX. We talked a lot about FX, the Wyowega cheese. We got it down in here. Whoever else you're hitting, State Farm, Chase, and the Cassidy Agency, True Grit Tackle. We got. Hey, listen, our website's up, stuff like that. We can keep going. He's pressing buttons, but
Follow us on Instagram.
the reality is, how about Steve Pinkston watched tonight? So definitely Sugar Hill Bait Company, and of course Sugar Hill nuts and stuff like that. You can get them at Bass Pro Shop and stuff like that. So again, guys, we appreciate you you tuning in tonight. We'll see you next Thursday. You guys have a good, safe weekend of fishing, and again, God bless you. We'll see you.